Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the AUDL Take. Before we jump into this episode, we're going to be talking about next week's episode. I just wanted to get it out there that we'll be interviewing Terrence Mitchell from the Raleigh Flyers. Been excited to actually speak with this guy. He's been in the league since 2015. I've been probably one of his biggest fans as far as a player that's not from the Atlanta Hustle. So very excited to bring you that interview, so make sure you tune in next week. But I know you're here for this week's episode, so let's jump into it. We're doing another player profile, and that is with the newest addition to the Atlanta Hustle, Jakeem Polk. To start with, there really isn't a big stat line that Jakeem Polk really stands out. He isn't someone who's putting up record number goals or assists, anything of that nature. I believe his first year in Charlotte, he had around 19 goals, and then his next year with the Cannons, he had about 25. So he's not a massive goal scorer. He's not someone who's putting up huge assists. So what makes him stand out? What makes him worthy of me breaking him down in a player profile? And that's purely his athleticism. So Jakeem Polk isn't someone who's been really built up in the ultimate community. He hasn't been playing it through high school in that kind of way. He was a big football player. He actually played at Wingate. He was a cornerback, and that was in 2015. And at that time, I believe he was the preseason All-Star Conference as well. So he has the athleticism, he has the strength and the field sense to play in a major sport. And bringing him over to Ultimate was a big move, especially for Charlotte, a team who didn't really have a lot of popular players. They were able to kind of bring in Jakeem Polk and really have someone who was on a different level athletically. For his first year, he was just a man-made highlight factory. He was making jumps, skying over everybody. He was able to really insert himself in a time that Dallas also was beginning to make their run. You would see individual plays against Dallas that were just incredible from him. He's able to jump higher. The closing speed was something that really to this day is just unmatched in the rest of the AUDL. I think what we're going to be seeing with him in Atlanta, he might also be playing defense, and it's that closing speed that I'm very interested in. If you have anything that floats, if you're trying to throw a hammer over top, you have to make sure you get it there quickly. Jakeem Polk has moved around, mostly what was formerly known as the Southern Division, now the Atlantic Division. He started in Charlotte, then I believe went to Jacksonville Cannons before they went to Tampa. Then he moved over to Raleigh for the last 2 years. Now he has made his move to Atlanta. Now, is this kind of a player who he's not really getting a lot of reps when he's out in the field? That's not the case. For Charlotte and Tampa, he played the majority of the points, especially on defense. In Raleigh, you started to see those numbers drop. Now, Jakeem Polk, when he first got into the league, wasn't the strongest thrower. If he got the disc, he was really quick to get the nice quick backhand to reset to anyone. That has changed over the years, but he's just not at that level of play where you can put him on a team and he's going to be able to command the offense or command the defense. He is very much of a role player. Now, he has improved greatly from those first few years, and I think we're going to see in Atlanta him on defensive points. I assume he's going to be able to move the disc a lot smoother than he has before. He's got his flicks a little bit more down packed, a little bit smoother off a release, and he's making quality backhands and flicks that are just moving the disc forward. So when he comes to Atlanta, I'm expecting to see this insane athleticism coupled with some nice throwing abilities that are going to really help this defense get breaks and actually convert. Another reason that makes Jakeem Polk just so fascinating to talk about, I think what's drawn my eye and many other people, is that he is that signal of the future of what the AUDL is about to bring. As we continue to make Ultimate more popular through club and through the pro, like the AUDL and PUL, we're promoting this as a legitimate sport to a lot of people. And seeing someone with the raw athleticism that Jakeem Polk has, and how we're starting to see people come from football, tennis, all these other sports, baseball, you're actually starting to see real athletic people come to the sport and show it off. There is still that extra level that we have not touched in Ultimate, and you see it every now and then. Some of the closing speed that I see from Jakeem Polk is unmatched in the rest of the league. There are still people there, but we're not seeing it drenched in the entire league itself. So as we move forward, I think you're going to see in the next 10, 15, 20 years, rosters of all people like Jakeem Polk. They're all same speed. They can all jump just as high. You're really going to start seeing the level of play develop, and he's just kind of that sign. And he's not someone who actually spent his whole, younger years developing ultimate skills. You're going to start seeing people like Jakeem Polk with this raw athleticism, this ability to learn quickly, and they're going to be doing it since they were in middle school. And they're going to be coming into the AUDL or PUL or any type of pro club that they're going to have skills beyond belief. They're going to be the fastest we've ever seen. They're going to be jumping higher than we've ever seen before. So that's what I like about him. He brings that conversation of, we see people come from football or soccer, and you just see the amount of athleticism they already have built into them, that they're so easily placed in an ultimate field. Once they get comfortable throwing, once they get to understand the defensive schematics and schemes that offenses are running, you can become a huge threat very quickly in ultimate. I've been actually lucky enough to speak with Jakeem Polk myself, and I actually had a nice little conversation talking about what it was like to come here to Atlanta, and his personality really just shines through. He's an intelligent man, someone who has a nice casual conversation, super friendly, and I think that's going to gel well coming into Atlanta, especially with this new roster, having to meet new people. He really has no fear in that regard. He easily picks up people and is genuinely nice and can just have a solid conversation with you, and I think he listens well, and that makes me even more confident when I see him on the field. Now having to adapt to a new defensive style that Miranda Knowles likes to put out there. It's going to be important for him to listen a lot and try to absorb as much of the Atlanta style as he can, but bring his raw athleticism, his closing speed, his decision making of when to go for it or not to that defense. This team could really benefit from it. I think if he's placed in the right spot in Atlanta, he could transform this defense overnight. So where does Jakeem Polk go from here? This Atlanta run was going to be very interesting because I was going to finally get that firsthand experience to see how well he really plays, how often he's on the field, how he affects the sideline, what kind of attitude does he bring to each game. Unfortunately, we're still in the delayed season, so there's a very slim chance we'll actually get to see a lot of him this year. They're still kind of up in the air whether we're going to have a short season or possibly a tournament kind of playoff style. But I'm very excited to see where this guy goes. I think coming into Atlanta, he's going to be put into a defensive scheme that's very unique to the rest of the AUDL, and how he will work within that could really change everything for the Atlanta Hustle. I think he's going to be here for a few years. He has moved from team to team, so you never really know, especially in this time where so much is uncertain. But I think this guy has a bright future. As long as he can continue to play in AUDL, he's going to continue to get better. And I think there's a very solid chance his name's going to start popping up more and more often as he gets on a team where he can really be in the right positions, being put there by coaches, knowing he can make the great plays, and he feels comfortable moving up and down the field, being part of a team, part of a unit, and he can able to grow with them over the next few years. So that's going to wrap up this week's episode. Just a nice quick little overview of one of my favorite players and someone who I've been watching since they've come into the league. Jakeem Polk is just an exciting player. Nothing like him really in the AUDL at this moment. But I want to thank you all for tuning in. If you have any player ideas that I should do for a player profile, or possibly you would like for me to interview, please leave a comment in the sections below. I just want to thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you all next week on the AUDL Take.